Christmas 2022. Merry Christmas to you. Today we light the Christ candle, and may His light be lit in our lives once again. Dear friends, today I want to reflect with you and share with you some thoughts on all four of the Gospels. They're all very unique. But the Gospel of Matthew starts with the genealogy of Jesus, linking Jesus to King David and his kingdom. But this is a new kingdom. Matthew doesn't mention anything of shepherds or angels or anything like that. The only story that Matthew has is about the wise men traveling to Bethlehem, obviously via King Herod. It's all a story about king and a new kingdom. The Gospel of Mark doesn't have any nativity and the traditional way as well. Although I believe, the more I reflect on it, that it's got a different nativity, and that is where Jesus asked, "But who do you say I am?" And then the Gospel of Luke, which has the angels and the heavenly choir singing, and the story of the shepherds, a very different story once again, about someone who came down and bowed down lowly. The odd one out is the Gospel of John, where there's no nativity whatsoever. Well, that's what I thought until recently. But I now believe that there is some nativity in the Gospel of John. And that is, we find that in chapter 3. And it's a different story. It's a story where it happens at night, and in the dark, one of the Pharisees called Nicodemus comes to Jesus. And he says, "Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher sent by God. No one could perform the miracles you are doing unless God is with him." And Jesus answered, "I'm telling you the truth. No one can see the kingdom of God unless he's born again." Isn't this a beautiful story? It's not the nativity of Jesus, but the nativity of us, of someone else, of Nicodemus. A new birth, not happening with Jesus, but in all of us. That's a different nativity. But I believe that the Gospel of John indeed has some nativity story. It's our nativity. The medieval theologian Angelus Silesius, known for his wisdom, and fortunately we have a lot of his quotes, he said, "If Christ was born 1,000 times in Bethlehem, but not in you yourself, then you would still be lost." And what he says is, what does it mean if we celebrate Christmas? And if Christ was born there over and over and over again, and never born within us, it's all in vain. And this is exactly what Jesus says in the Gospel of John. A new birth that has to happen within us. Now, we had a lovely nativity. We had and the church, we had a lovely Advent festival in the church. And to me personally, it was an amazing, wonderful Advent building up to today, to Christmas Day. And it gave me time to reflect on this, that Christ said, "Be born again. May he be born within us again." Now, dear friends, there are so many things born in us every single day. When I read the newspapers, some anger is born within me about what's going on, the war in Ukraine, and all the unrighteousness that you see in the world. Some people equate what's happening in the UK at the moment with the winter of discontent in 1971. There's so much anger, there's so much unhappiness in the world, and all this is born within people. And I want to shake myself, and I want to shake them and say, be aware of what you allowed to be born within yourself. What does it mean if we're only filled up with, with anger, with unhappiness, with discontent, with, with our unease, what's happening in the world? What does it mean? And then we celebrate Christmas, and this message comes to me and via me to you. May something else be born in us. And it's not a way of running away of the reality in the world, but who we are and what we allow to be. And so much of that discontent is born in our minds, but something else can be born there as well. And that's the presence of Christ, the peace of Christ, a different way of being. And with this message, my dear friends, I wish you and myself that Christ may be born in me today, in you, and in us every single day, and that we may be His light in the world. Merry Christmas. May the child, the Lord of peace, be with you now and always. Amen.